trope this week, we're going to get straight into it, is the prophecy. Now, I'm just going to open it up. Let's start with the worst one you've seen. Let's just start there. The worst.
There is a movie that I saw as a child which I didn't want to see. And I have not seen since, and it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh.
And that is...
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one.
I'm not a fan of it. All the stuff about people thirsting over the weird, like, half-goat man aside, there is a prophecy in that movie, or that story, which is... I can't remember specifically because I didn't like it, but they set up this prophecy at the beginning where it's like, these 4 kids or whatever, if they get on the throne, then the witch will be, like, forever gone.
Yeah.
But once they establish it, that's it. Like, there's no, you know how it's going to end there, because they don't do anything with it. It's just like, tick, 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 tick. You just think, okay, we're close to the end now.
Yeah, that is quite paint by numbers.
Yeah.
The example
I think actually, I was going to say, I think most of the worst examples you can think of on this list would be in kids' fantasy movies. Because, to be fair, like, they're kids' movies, you can't really do, like, much suspense or anything. Like, it has to be quite simple, I guess, for the audience. So I think a lot of those you could probably just pick out.
But what was interesting about this film, I'm not really a massive fan of this film, but Shrek, they kind of threw the whole thing in the face of that idea of a prophecy, the hero's meant to do this, and this. Right. And then you got his whole storyline, and it's almost like they're riffing on the trope in there, so it's quite entertaining for us as viewers. Yeah. But yeah, you're right, like it is more of the children's first kind of audience. PG.
The Lego movie also does that. Where the
really?
Lego movie is like, get the piece of resistance, the chosen one will get the piece of resistance, and you get it at the end and it's like, no, there's no piece of resistance, that was all made up. So there's no chosen one.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have a hard time with this one, because I can't even really explain to you what a good, example of a prophecy is. I can tell you what a good story, how it was told. I could say executed well, but I wouldn't call it good or bad. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's me. I'm not saying I'm indifferent. It's just, to me, did you execute it? Did I get that it was a prophecy, or did I miss it? Kind of what you were saying, Jamie. It's like, was it too simple? Was it meant for my audience? I'm not saying I find myself just asking myself that question every time I come across it, but as I've thought about it just now, I'm like, I'm still coming up blank. It's really hard. I would say The Covenant. Did you guys see The Covenant?
The Covenant.
It's like the witchcraft movie for males.
I knew I remember that name.
Right?
Yeah.
So, to me, I thought, just to reiterate what that movie's about, but it's basically, you have the sons of Salem, which are basically teenage Caucasian males.
Right.
And they are the rulers of this small town, right? Because their families are rich, because their families settled in this area, and they are witches. But the caveat is that as they use their powers, they rapidly age. So that's the catch.
Oh, that's interesting.
But the prophecy is that, hey, I don't want to give anything away, but the prophecy dictated that one of the sons or whatever was going to change everything. And I'm like, he didn't really change anything. I would say that. I would just say he encountered another missing son, and he had to fight for his life. Yeah. He had to not just be the pretty jock boy. He had to actually stand 10 toes deep to someone who was outcasted, and he had to dig deep and go back to his family, learn more about himself. And I'm thinking, to me, that was at the time a really great story, because I was like in high school, college. But as I think back on that, it was like, the prophecy part, they used that word a lot, but I didn't really get it.
Oh, so I get what you mean now. Like, that could fit into the side of maybe it wasn't executed well because the trope was there, but it wasn't fleshed out enough where you're aware of it. And then if that's the case, what's the point? The good example I go to, like, was digging around, was Macbeth, like that, where it's obscure enough that he still has to participate and do certain things to make it come true, but it's not clear what that is. Like, it starts really vague. That was something that I was like, okay, yeah, that's actually like, that's very strong, because it still works as a hook, and the whole time you're just anticipating what's going to happen, and then you have more questions when it's such a simple premise as well. But yeah, what do you guys think for good examples? Jamie, I don't know if you have one.
The Macbeth one was one that I had also thought of, because I think it's so. I think the problem with the prophecy trope is if you get too specific, you're kind of screwed. You can't do much with it. If it's like what Macbeth does well is it's so vague, and it's so like in its wording, it's so ambiguous that it can be any number of things.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the only other, and this gets to what Remy was saying as well, is what is a prophecy exactly? What do we consider to be a prophecy? Because I think a movie like Minority Report, which I think is a fantastic movie, is that a prophecy? Because this system has churned out a name, and it said that Tom Cruise, who is supposed to be this good guy, is going to murder this man in 12 hours from now. Is that a prophecy?
I would count that. I would count that.
I would count that, but it's a question, because then you kind of go, does a prophecy have to be from like some figure?
Yeah.
Can it be, it's a question.
That's interesting.
So good segue. I was gonna take it to where, is it divine or is it a tool? And when I say a tool, I mean when you add technology to the equation and you start to control said thing, it's no longer divine? ? But my example, one, I love Minority Report, but my example would be, did you guys see the butterfly effect?
Yes.
The idea behind the butterfly effect is divine, right?
Yeah.
But, we've seen, I won't give the example, the actual movie, they didn't use technology necessarily, but he used it as a tool. He used his gift as a tool, and he, as in, was it Ashton Kutcher?
Yep.
In this version, he used his gift as a tool to keep going back and trying to change the life of his friends and himself.
Yeah.
And every time he go back, go forward, he's like, this ain't it. It's like he's chasing something, but he doesn't know what he's chasing.
So he's changing the fate. It's almost like a moving target, which would be...
And he's making it worse.
Yeah.
He continues to make it worse, which, I don't know what, the writer's thoughts were on writing it that way, right? But I appreciated it, because that movie actually really scared me when I was younger. It terrified me. Because how many times have you thought, if I go back, man, I'd have done this exact moment very differently. But then you go back forward and you're like, whoa, I don't like this life.
It's just Armageddon.
Just because I was mean, I bullied this one kid. What? No bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such a good pull, because that is very like visceral, impactful in the terms of, because again, mass appeal, everyone wants to go back in time for whatever reason, and then it hits you with that, well, these are the consequences, would you still want to do it? And it's kind of like,
can I add one?
Yeah, sure.
Just to add on to what Remy was saying when he said about divine versus technology, one movie that's going to blur the lines, The Matrix.
Oh, greatest film of all time.
Complete
to me.
Middle, like exactly that question.
That's psychological, though. You got to add in the psychological warfare that they did to you.
That's true.
Because you just don't know, right?
Yeah.
But the lines are so completely blurred.
But you don't know anymore. That was the fuck that they did. They were like, let's just throw in a little bit of X. But they're like, what?
But now I'm thinking, but the technology is almost at the point of being divine, where they have so much control over life, where it's like, it's almost a prophecy.
It's sentient.
Yeah,
that's what they call it.
It's a really hard one to try and like work, and especially because it is, they are also manipulating the people in it, and there's that whole thing. I think really the takeaway that I took when you asked me to come on this and to think about prophecy, the thing that I kept coming back to was that it doesn't really matter what it is, if it's technology, if it's like some biblical thing, it's always just a question of faith. Like every single prophecy movie comes down to, do you believe in this thing?
Yeah.
Or do you not? And that is just every single time, it has always been the same. Any prophecy movie you can pick, it's always just like, they believed it. That's it.
But that's again, and this is something that Harry Potter did well with Voldemort, because it's the reverse. He created his own issues by pursuing that. Yeah. He kind of like created his own antagonist in his story, when it wasn't even confirmed that it was going to be Harry, and we don't get that story. But I like that. I liked the ambiguity of what he was, like what his goal was, and I like that's one thing we'll get to a bit later on. But that's one thing I like about the trope done well, is like you said, it has to be obscure and it can be interpreted in so many different ways that it's like you're not sure who's following the prophecy. Like it's like with Macbeth, it was similar. Game of Thrones, they have something similar in there where it's translated from a dead language. So then it's like, oh, is this right? Is this? And then the whole time it holds the tension, because you're like, does this apply to this person? But that could apply to this person.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like another interesting take on it.
I think there's like a really interesting story that I've never seen, where you have one prophecy and people believing it, and another prophecy and people believing that, and somebody in the middle who's like, I don't know which of these stories I want to be in, because they're just completely counteractive.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, they themselves become the prophecy because they're
breaking the cycle.
Like,
yeah.
Nah, I don't agree with either of you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I'm the guy, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring up. Did you guys watch the movie Arrival, 2016?
Arrival.
Alien. Okay, that one. So that one is actually based on a story by Ted Chiang. Story of Your Life is what it's called, and Amy Adams, she plays the protagonist in there. But what I wanted to bring up, so really quickly for our viewers who have not seen it, Arrival, again 2016. Again 2016, but this one is about, okay, there is a phenomenon that happens on Earth. Same thing, right? It strikes everyone on this planet. And now all of these specialists are identified, pulled together to assist with this, with this phenomenon. And so a part of this, team, there are, there's a couple, and this couple, they start having visions. And that vision basically gives them glimpses of, I think just one of the couple starts to have visions of, just visions of what a life that she does not recognize. And then she starts to slowly piece together, oh my gosh, am I getting glimpses of my future? It's a question mark. But that being said, there's something that is identified as you go through the movie that's like, oh my gosh, that is heart-wrenching. So heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it comes back full circle, and that's, it was in fact a glimpse. They were many glimpses, and it was in fact a very heart-wrenching glimpse. And you have the opportunity to change that. And I would say person A decided, I'm going through. This was I want this experience. I know where it ends, but I want the experiences that led up to that. And then option B is like, I didn't sign on for that. Like that, what? And you didn't tell me? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so now you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's the resistance.
And it's still, it worked out exactly the way those glimpses took place in her mind before they even happened. And she had the power to change that because that was the gift that she was given with the event. So how did I do, Jamie?
You did well. You did well. Better than I would have done.
That's and something else that's interesting about that is because you don't know where these moments fit on the timeline, that itself is bringing the tension. Because again, the brain automatically trying to create a pattern, create some kind of continuity. When it can't do that, it leaves us wanting more. We have to conclude the story. We have to find the resolution. And where does this fit in on the timeline? That's a very good reference for it. Before we move on, do you have any other good executions of the trope?
I have movies that I love.
Let's see how biased you're going to be.
Terminator 2.
Oh, okay. I'm not mad at that.
Judgment Day is coming.
Very simple.
Very simple, but one of the best movies ever. I can forgive it.
Okay. And let us know in the comments if we're missing any obvious ones. But just on Terminator 2, did you think that was like well executed? Because like, is that built on what you know from the first movie, or as a standalone, do you think it holds up?
I think it holds up as a standalone. But I think if you watch it with the first one, I think it is just the perfect continuation of that. To see that character, because it's what we've been talking about. She knows what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
And everything up to that is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to get to that point. The Terminator. I'm just going to say it because it's kind of the premise of the movie.
It's old enough, you could say it.
Yeah, the Terminator now is the good guy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we don't expect that to happen. Now you do, and now the whole story is going to be, we don't know where that's going.
Yeah.
We don't know how that outcome is going to turn up or not turn up, because she's not going to want to trust the guy that tried to kill her and her son like a year ago.
Never.
So I think, like, if you look at it particularly in terms of when it was released in the 80s, I think it's a very, very good depiction of that. You would not know where that story was going in the 80s.
Now I have to agree as well, but I'm just thinking, do we have the curse of knowledge? We know the story. Okay. So are we going back and filling in the blanks?
Are we stopping at 2? Are we stopping at 2 as the curse of knowledge?
We're stopping at 2 because I haven't seen the others. But,
it's a different kind of curse after 2.
Exactly. That's why I haven't seen them. Good. But I would say, like, the curse of knowledge, I think we're kind of doomed as writers with that anyway. Because I think half the time, if we see a story, we'll be like, oh, you've set that thing up? Okay, well, I know where this is going now. Oh, whatever. So I have to kind of give a little bit of leeway to that and be like, well, it's kind of tricky for us, I guess.
Well, in this situation, not in this situation, you were correct again. In this situation, it ended up being, in number 2, the people who were trying to prevent the thing created the thing.
Yeah. Skynet, take
that
it out.
That's what you were expecting. You could not have expected that in the first one. But when it happened, you were like, okay, I was expecting that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, that's prophecy. The same people who are trying to stop the thing, the fact that they're trying at all creates the problem.
Yeah.
If they had done nothing, maybe something different would have happened. It
creates the curiosity gap where it's like, wait, if he didn't do that, like you were saying with butterfly effect, just what degree of control would you have? Like, how vast would the ripple be if you went back and changed just one thing? And I just want to put this question to you two, obviously, as writers. How do you kind of get around that? You just said the curse of knowledge, knowing how you want your story to end. How do you stay engaged and not, like, become almost bored with your own premise?
Do you want to answer first, Remy?
I'm happy to. I'll say I'm happy to because I figured out in my own writing, a scene that I think is just gonna explode on the internet, right? And now I'm thinking, how the hell do I get there? If that makes sense. It's like, how do I get there? And that's the journey, because I have no idea how we get there. I know where we're going.
Yeah.
Right? No. But how I get there is gonna take me through some twists and turns that'll make it authentic. You see what I'm saying? And when I do eventually get there, people are just gonna look at it and be like, how the hell did you think of all this? And you're like, I didn't. I thought of it a piece at a time. So that's the best way I can explain it for myself.
Yeah.
So
for me,
that keeps you interested. Sorry, Jeremy. What were you?
No. I was going to say, like, it's interesting that we're talking about this week, because I'm currently working on a story that is about a curse that is a very similar thing, and my challenge has been, I know where it ends.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of the curse is you kind of have a sense of how it's going to end, I have to find a way to not to do that without you knowing that I'm going to do that. And that has been a challenge for me. I've had to learn. Essentially, what I've done is I've mapped out what my instinct would be to get there. And now I'm systemically going through and saying, how can I twist this in a way that will throw you off? How can I subvert it or do something different with it, or add in a new obstacle that you don't expect?
Yeah.
That now is going to take you away from that outcome. It has been a nightmare, but it will be fine.
They're Easter eggs.
Yeah, I was going to say
Easter eggs.
It's interesting as well having the contrast of how you both approach this, because obviously, like Jay, you're in the more traditional sense. You're going through it like, I'm going to outline, and then try and take it apart. Whereas I like what Emma Remy said is, you know the end, but how you get there is a mystery to even to you. Right. So it's kind of like there's no one's going to be able to predict the setup.
No.
So that's one way where
you
remove that entirely. And do you think that comes from? Obviously, you weren't a traditional writer, Emma Remy. Do you think that just came from not having the biases of having the formal training and going through the specific arc structures?
1,000%. I mean, the way I look at it is not fundamental at all. I'm just like, I have a problem. I don't know how to solve it, so I'm going to have to figure out how to solve it, right? And I'm going to enlist help. And in this sense, the characters, friends, or rivals, whatever, are going to help me get there.
Yeah.
But now, when I jump into their lens, their motivations are different than the initial lens, and so that's why I say it's going to make me pivot, because I'm going to challenge the protagonist, because that's authentic, right? If I'm their rival, if I'm their sibling, if I'm their parent, I'm treating them the way I would in the relationship that I have with that protagonist. And so I'm going to either nurture them, push them, or try to prevent them from doing whatever. And so that's why I say, I don't know, if I'm in this person's lens and I hate this guy, what am I going to do to try to fuck him over? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I still need this protagonist to end up over here. So I got to put him through some strife or her through some strife, right? But now that's going to have a ripple effect. What did that strife, and it always has to be, what did that strife, right, lead them into understanding that led them to the finish line?
I like that, because it's the not knowing. It's going to keep you engaged as well as you're writing it without you.
And it always leads, when you do that, it always leads to directions that you could never have predicted originally. There are movies, I think there's a movie that came out a month ago called Weapons. And the writer and director who does that, when he writes, he's like, I just start writing, I don't know where it's going to go.
That's so crazy.
Pantsing.
And when you see it, you think, I didn't know where you were going to go with that either.
Be honest, Jay, do you not hate hearing that though? Like, someone just makes it seem like, it's effortless.
No, because that's when I was in university, I'm not going to tell you the whole story because it'll take forever. My final assignment was a 100-page script.
Oh.
And I had spent 12 weeks writing and deleting my work because I had no confidence in myself. I was 10 hours from the deadline. I had to wing it. And I submitted basically a first draft, and I got a really good feedback for it. So I will never, ever be the one who's like, you shouldn't do that. No, do that. That works for you? Great. Amazing.
If I may pontificate on that, I had my moment as well that led me to that in a completely different sense. In architectural school, we had an assignment, and it's, you have to create this thing, and the only criteria, it has to provide shelter, right? And you're like, God, it's too ambiguous. What?
Yeah.
Give me something. I need something. And I'm like, I got nothing. I have nothing. And part of architecture school is that they challenge you that way, right? It's like, no, what do you got? And I just lost it, because it was like 10 minutes, and like it was one of those, it's not a pop quiz, but literally they give you this assignment, and I'm like, what is this gonna determine? And so the professors came in, they were gonna come in 10 minutes, and I just started with a Sharpie, man, just started like doing some weird, like just scribble, because I didn't care at that point. I was just so annoyed, so frustrated. And me being me, me, I run my mouth and I just make shit up. And so when it was my turn to present, the first thing out of my mouth was, what is a cave? And they were like, what? I was like, a cave is a shelter. And then I looked at this piece of work that I did, and it was just a big blob with like a weird white opening. And I was like, this is a cave. And people were like, oh my gosh, I see it. And I just kept going in. I was like, so, this is what I was thinking. And then in the room, because the people in the room, they knew, right? We're talking, they knew where I was, and they're just heckling me. And the professors were like, shh, shh. They're taking me so seriously. And everyone in this room is like, I hate you, Mike.
Yeah,
and I just killed it.
That's kind of like how fine art works as well.
Yeah.
Like one person
We are the
sees
same people. You can't fail like an art degree as long as you just have the confidence to just wing something.
You've got to
and just
have
speak with
absolute
complete
conviction.
authority. You can't lose. We're the same person.
Facts.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, and something that I hope the audience picks up on there as well. Conviction in the idea is almost as like more important than the idea itself. If you have 100% enthusiasm and passion for it, maybe you'll take the steps to kind of like workshop it into an idea that could be presented, like at the very least, like it's something workable. Like you said there, you were just scribbling and then you just put that together like a cave, and you had everyone's attention because it's like, wait, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
So that's a good hook as well, because even I was like, wait, a cave?
Yeah.
What? And you did say a shelter. I get it now. Yeah, you know what I mean? People they just want to understand what the hell you're talking about.
But yeah, it's the curiosity gap. We might have to do an episode on that as well, because in advertising, that's something quite important as well. Good hooks, always a question, open-ended. The Japanese, they usually do 4-act structure and they end on a twist. That's the way they do it, which is, again, it just leaves room for more ambiguity. So, like, you know, and again, this leads me on to my next question. What do you say the difference is between a curse and a prophecy? I'll start with you, Jay, because you're working on this.
I have an answer for this because I had to really think about it.
Yeah.
I think the difference is a prophecy is a prediction, as we have established. Just something, you know, at 5 p.m. today, you're going to do this. And that's a prophecy. Okay, fine. I think a curse has rules.
Ooh.
I think a curse comes with specific constraints that you have to work within. And I have 5 examples that I have thought of. 2 stand alone and 3 are kind of the same thing. But if you think of like Pirates of the Caribbean, right? They turn into skeletons and all that stuff. How do you break the curse? So think of like it's a blood sacrifice with the gold or something, where you have to something like that, and then you put it back and then you don't do it anymore. And that's okay. If you think of Beauty and the Beast and you have the flower, if you fall in love or you're loved or however you want to phrase it, then the curse is broken.
Yeah.
But if you try and break either of those curses any other way, you can't do it. Because you can't get out of it. The other 3 that I have, and they're kind of all the same, is It Follows, The Ring, and Final Destination. Right? Those 3
Love It Follows
are all kind of the same thing, because you get the curse is put on you, and then to get rid of it, you have to pass it on to somebody else, and then that's the way that works. You cannot break it any other way. If you think of like prophecy movie, if you think of Terminator 2, for example, or The Matrix, or you know, Minority Report, or any of those things, the prophecy is just Tom Cruise is going to murder somebody. He's got to not do that. He can do that any way that he wants.
Yeah, true.
He can leave the country. He can just like send the guy on a bus. He can like kill himself. He can do any of these things would end the prophecy technically. Whereas the curse, Final Destination, if you don't die and somebody else doesn't die, you're still going to die. You know,
That's a good point, because I've never really seen the distinction. Like I like the examples you provided, because it does have to, the curse it comes with the negative connotations already, so that has to be built into the idea, surely. But as a trope, I'm trying to think, has there been a curse that actually isn't that bad? To be honest, it's still labeled as a curse, but it's not the end of the world.
There's a really bad movie.
I like the start of that sentence.
I always have all the bad movies. There's so many lined up. It's called Good Luck Chuck, and it's that movie with, I don't know what that guy's name is. He's one of the most smug people I think I've ever seen.
That's hilarious.
And his curse in the movie is that he dates women, and then when they leave him, they find the one.
Oh, wow.
Like, they find the love of their life. And that's the premise of the movie, which I would argue is, as a curse, it's like, not that bad.
Yeah.
Dane Cook,
that's it, yeah. I think as a curse, it's not that bad. You know?
Like it's not life-threatening in any way.
No.
It's just kind
it might be a little bit disappointing for you, but it's like, well, you know, you get to date people for a while, it's not that bad.
he became the object, period. The object.
Yeah.
People would seek him out just to ride him so they can meet the next. And at first that comes off as like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, oh my gosh, not you. You know, and it's like, oh no, and then it gets weird, right? And it's like, no, please not you. So I think it's, again, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Right? No one wants to be available.
I couldn't even remember half of that. I blanked that movie so quick. Damn.
Thank you for bringing that back up to my memory.
But again, it made an impact. You know, it stuck around in there in the subconscious a little
bit. I think that's a great example.
Yeah,
for sure.
For the sake of the conversation, for sure. Like, but I know it's one of those. I'll go and watch it later, and then I'm not going to be happy.
Well, execution-wise, you know, that's a different conversation. Yeah. I think again, it answers the question. It's like, is that bad, right? Like, you know, as far as prophecy is concerned. But back to Jamie, what you said. I want to say it said differently. I think, you know, instead of just rules and regulations, consequences.
Yeah.
Consequences versus it is existential. It's going to happen. Nothing you could do about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was meant to happen. No tool you use, right? No decision that you think you've made will divert where that is going. And that right there is, you know, finite, if you will. So I would say consequences, which I think both sides has consequences, but I think the curse side, to make it specific a curse, it's not negative or positive, because, you know what I mean? I think it's just consequences. Like you said, don't do, you know, you did this thing, consequence until you undo that thing.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not as simple on the other side.
7 days to send the tape on. Otherwise.
There you go.
Yeah, it's always, that's it. It's always or else. It's do this or else. Whereas a prophecy, it's kind of like, I could just stay here and maybe nothing happens.
Right. And it's why, like, they're so kind of fun to play with, because once you know that, and once you don't even necessarily need to have the rules in place. I guess Final Destination, you don't know the rules until sort of halfway through or whatever, when half of the cast is dead. But, you know, they will try so many things to break out of it, and they will try so many alternate routes, and it gives you so much to play with, because, you know, a curse. If you have 7 days to, you know, before you die, you're going to try everything to try and get out of it. Everything except the thing you have to do, you'll try and get out of. A prophecy, you're like, it's probably going to happen. I don't know.
Can I give you the two examples to fit those two?
Sure.
I had to rack my brain for a second. But so on the consequence side, did you guys watch the movie Silent Night?
So who's the lead?
Is that the Santa one?
Hold on.
It rings a bell. I just want to know if I'm right here.
Oh my gosh, I got it right. Oh my gosh, I got it right. Okay.
I think it's the Santa Claus one, and I feel like he's going to come out with something completely different.
No, so Silent Night. This one is with Keira Knightley and Lily Rose Depp, and it's 2021, but it's a apocalyptic black comedy. But I'll explain it to you, and I can even share my screen if you want.
I don't think.
Sounds familiar.
You're not seeing it? Look that up on you guys' side. But Silent Night 2021, and I'll explain it really quickly. But all it is basically like you immediately come into this family's house. They're cooking holiday dinner. Their friends arrive with their kids. You know what I mean? And there's immediately these very tense conversations, like instantly, as soon as everybody gets together, the adults, the kids are weird, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And you realize that it is the end of the world, and that this heinous fog is coming in, kind of like Mist, I think, from Stephen King, but like this weird mist is coming in, this haboob of like just fog, and it's supposedly gonna kill you, right? And so they are planning for that, and they're gonna have one last night together before they end it all for everyone, including their children.
Ooh.
And so that's my example of the consequence.
Yeah.
And, I won't tell you how that ends, but there's consequences, right? You did this thing. This is the consequence. another entity chose not to do that thing, and this was their consequence.
Yeah.
And it was so polar opposite because it was a child fighting his own parents. He was like, hold on, I get it, but you're okay with killing me? And it's like, as a parent, you're like, I don't want you to suffer, right? You know, and you're like, but I mean, yeah, you're gonna die anyway, so let me kill you. It's weird, and
that's
how it ends is
one, isn't it?
It's tough, but at the end, you're like, oh my gosh. And then the other example for the prophecy, where it's meant to happen, is M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin, 2023.
It's a good one.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so help me out on this, Jamie. But group of people arrive at a cabin. They explain the prophecy, and he's like, "Hey, look, nothing we can do. We all saw the vision. This is going to happen. We got to do this thing." And they're like, "Absolutely not. It's not happening. We're not doing that." Yeah, you're going to do it. And you know what I mean? Like at the end, you're like, you start off with like, what has this world come to? And you're on, you immediately you pick a side. I think I don't know about yourself, James, but you pick a side.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're like, damn it, I don't think I could have did anything different. I see what they did. I think I would have chosen those decisions, and still, where it ended is probably something that I would have had to just get on board with because I get it. Yeah. And at the end, that made me feel like closure, because you know that no matter what you did, that same outcome would have happened. And there's something, I would say, I wouldn't call it satisfying, but there's something that settles when you know that, hey, no matter what I could have done, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, so it's definitely a stronger prophecy. And I just want to add on to that with another question then. I'll throw this out to both of you. So when we're talking about prophecies, curses, those type of elements, so what do you prefer in a story? Do you prefer the time? Like, obviously it's an obvious one to create tension. Let's just add a timer on it to give it, like you said, with the 7 days. Cool. Or do you prefer something more open-ended? Everyone's treading real carefully because they don't want to trigger the next phase of the prophecy. Like, where do you two sit on that? So we're going against like time, you know.
It depends on the story, I guess. I don't think there's any real. The time adds more pressure.
Yeah.
But even if it's not there, as long as you have as long as you have the story set up well enough that this character is in the worst imaginable situation and they have to get out of it, you can pretty much do anything with that. That's why, like, I think, to keep coming back to, like, Arrival is a great example of that, where she's kind of remembering a future that she doesn't have and forcing her into this situation of, like, do I really want that? Do I not want that? Same with, like, there's no time limit on that. You know it's going to come or it's not going to come. She has to make a decision. Minority Report is the same way. I guess there is kind of a ticking clock in that, but it's really more about just, is he going to do it?
Yeah.
As long as you have a question like that, are they going to do it? Is it going to happen? You don't necessarily need a ticking clock. It depends on your story and the execution of it.
Yeah.
I think when you add in a clock, which I'm not a fan of, but when you do add in a clock, now you're adding desperation. And when you add desperation, people don't move the way they would have preferred to move. They're moving how they have to.
Yeah.
And that makes them, that's I think where it diverges when you add in time. And so now you're asking the question, do I want this character to make the best decision possible for themselves, or do I want to rush this person to see what fight or flight response they have?
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know where I stand on wanting to force that versus, how do you naturally... Sometimes I think it just naturally happens. You're on a deadline sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works for a story and sometimes it doesn't. And I think, like, Harry Potter is an example of a story where there's no deadline.
Yeah, that's a good example.
The prophecy is there and it's driving the story the entire time. Because if that didn't happen, Voldemort wouldn't have caused all of this, chaos. Yeah. So it's entirely dependent on whatever story you're telling at that time. Because I think there are some stories where if you have the ticking clock, it's just, you kind of need it, because if you didn't have it, that character would just go on forever. It just wouldn't have an end.
Yeah, they might not act if there's no
insight. Like the ring. If the ring didn't have 7 days, if it was just like at some point in time, you might die. It's like, well, I'll take my chances on that because that's probably going to happen anyway. I'm going to die someday. 7 days is like, okay, I need to do something about this. So I think some stories it works and some stories it just doesn't. I think, as Remy said, I think if it presents itself naturally, then that's the best way to do it. If it doesn't, you probably don't.
Okay, so which out of those two ways, which do you say creates more tension? I know the clock's a more obvious one. It gives the audience something...
Desperation.
Yeah, it gives them... Yeah. But is that more tension than something more open-ended, the not knowing, the anxiety hanging around it?
Well, in theory, like, you could have all of those things without a ticking clock. If you had somebody who's like, your daughter's very sick, we don't know when she's, gonna go, but she'll go at some point. That creates desperation. Doesn't have to be a ticking clock. You don't have to say it's going to be Friday at 5. It's just, you have that desperation. You want to resolve the problem quickly.
Would you agree that's to me, personally, that would be more, that's a lot more tension. I think the open-endedness of that is kind of like, because then it's like, what do I do? Like, do I have a year? Yeah. Do I have a month? Like, in that time, it's kind of
I think it always comes down to, I think, to go back to what Remy is saying, because I'm just going to spend this entire episode saying what Remy said was correct. I think
Same.
The consequence thing, as long as every decision they have has a consequence, then you really can't go wrong. Because everything that they try and do that is going to fail is going to make them more desperate. And the more desperate somebody becomes, the more bad decisions they'll make, the more it's going to whatever. Your tension will just build and build and build from there.
Yeah.
So, again, like, you can do that with a ticking clock, you can do it without. It's entirely dependent on your story and the execution of it.
Well said. And I, not to quickly switch it, but I wanted to go back to M. Night Shyamalan because I think he is a master of that.
Yeah, the
suspense. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to simplify it as saying suspense, so you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And specifically the movie Old. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
So now that I think does exactly what we're talking about, right? There, it provides a clock. There's desperation because no one wants to get old fast.
Yeah.
And it took them too long to figure out that's what was happening. So that's so now they've lost X amount of time in their life, and now they're like, we're gonna die on this island, on this paradise island.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like some people are already older when they get there. And so it's like at that point you're like, we gotta get these kids off this island. You know what I mean? It's like at this point it's like, I can't let these kids die, but like we were already in our 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I usually I think time is a cop out when people just throw it in there.
Yeah, but I agree with that.
But in this sense, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is, M. Night, why didn't you give them more than like 24 hours? I'm like, damn, give them a week. But then that would have taken them even longer to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like you had to have given it, 24 hours, or I don't know the exact time, but it was like basically 24 hours. Everyone goes through a cycle of their life. I think that's how that worked out.
Yeah. There's
a line in that movie that is one of my favorite lines that has ever been written in a non-comedy. I don't think you can gauge what happens, but the line is, she died due to a lack of attention. And it is said with such drama. I was like, this is so absurd. Like, this is such a ridiculous line.
It's a good line though, right?
It was. Listen, I will defend Shyamalan to the end. Even if the movie is not great, he takes so many swings. I'm like, I cannot fault the guy. I had a good time every single time I see a movie like that.
That is crazy. She died from a lack of attention.
Yeah. And I can't even remember the context.
Removing the context from that just as a line is hilarious. Okay, so another one, a more obvious, In Time. Have you seen that? Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah.
How did you feel about that? Because that's kind of like, it's got a visual representation of the ticking clock.
Borrowed time.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'll kick it off. I absolutely loved it, and I say that me and my wife and I, we just recently rewatched that.
Oh, seriously?
Seriously, we were like shooting pool, and we're like, yeah, let's put that on, man. It's one of those movies that you just put on in the background.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I caught myself watching it. And not that, that's a bad thing. I was just like, I love the concept. I forgot how much I love the concept of being able to, if you hustle harder, you can earn more time. And obviously there are people on the planet currently that have hustled for so long, or have stolen for so long, or have been privileged for so long that they have this infinite amount of years and time, to remain 25. And that concept, while I don't think the, remaining young forever is a new thing, but I love the idea that I can steal your time, or stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only going to give you this much time. They literally turn time into currency, which it is a currency.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. Right now, people don't care about money. If you showed up with $1 million and gave it to them, they were like, no,
yeah,
I'll take your time though. That's way more real.
Yeah.
My time on this earth, you're willing to rob me of that? Mm-hmm. Yes. To give to myself or my family members. Yeah. Absolutely. Think how dark that is.
I think that's quite brave as well, to literally just be as upfront with the premise as possible. Like they've taken the trope and they've made a physical representation of, like, there's a certain amount, number reaches 0, that's bad. And I do like when a film takes a chance like that sometimes, when it might not land the right way because it's so obvious. What do you think about that film, Jay?
So I have not seen it. However, the other day, this is true, I think I caught the last 5 minutes of it.
Oh my god!
I didn't know what it was. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. And then I saw Justin Timberlake turn up. I was like, I know exactly what this movie is. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But I know almost everything about it. So it's a lovely final shot. I don't know anything else to
You know how I would end that differently? Like, if I were to put my M. Night Shyamalan hat on, I would have instead say, if you were to have gone to 0, it would have unlocked a better reward.
Oh.
And like, actually, everybody who's stuck in this, it's not actually a great world, by the way.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. And you see that. It's like very, I wouldn't want to live on the rich side of town. I don't know what you got on that, Carmine, but
yeah,
if you were to go towards 0, like straight up, just, clock out, and you wake up the next morning and you're actually like in the best situation, not dead, but like you unlock a whole new level of your life, that would have been yo,
you know what? You fixed it. You fixed the film.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you stay in this purgatory in a sense, because of how much their egos valued, right?
Yeah.
What they thought was a life.
Yeah. That's an amazing twist, because
that's a good ending.
Yeah, I actually like that, because it's tragic in a way, because it's like they're working so hard to get more time, but then if you were the audience watching that, you'd be like, no, like, let it go, like, let go of all the material things.
Go,
enjoy the time you have, and then you enjoy the time that comes after that. That would have been a way better ending. Yeah.
Just writing it.
that's like the perfect metaphor of, like, they have to learn to appreciate their time.
Yeah, like,
and then once the time comes to an end, they go to paradise.
But do you know what's funny about this?
Perfect.
What this conversation is making clear is, okay, like, the script, it's not that great. Like, let's be honest. Like, the premise, it's obvious. They were brave doing it, but maybe they didn't have an ending like Remy just put forward, which is why they had to have the visual representation for it, because they didn't know how to get that message across. So they were kind of like preaching, like, no, look, this is literally your time. So it's like, no one's going to argue with that, like, I want less time. So maybe they only went with it, like, because they didn't have a twist like that at the end to kind of underpin the whole thing.
Well, to contradict myself, because I'm good at that too, they did. There is a movie called The Island, 2005. Scarlett Johansson, Ewan McGregor, Steve Buscemi, and in that sense, they are trapped in paradise, in a sense, right? Again, and they want to get off the island, or I think they want to go to the island, but they want to get out of where they are. Sorry, so they want to go to paradise. They want to get out of where they are, which is really like a facility. right? Like a health facility in a sense, but you know, they don't know that the island is actually the animal farm scenario. You're going to the mill. They're gonna chop your body up and put those organs in the real you out there that actually paid for a clone of themselves to be harvested.
Damn.
It got real dark. It's like whoa. You mean I'm not real? You're like, no, you are definitely real. You're just not you. You outside of this facility paid for you to be born, so because they got a bad heart. So the plan is to take your heart. And they were like, yeah, but I'm using my heart. And they were like, yeah, but you don't exist. No.
Yeah.
But I'm standing right here. And they were like, no one knows you're standing right here. And you're like, oh, guy, get the hell out of here.
That is interesting.
And then, get out of here. You're gonna do what to my body? You're a donor. Yeah, when I'm dead. I know. Whoa, I'm still alive. Yeah, that's the problem. We got to take care of that. So just stay still. Just let me stick you with this. It'll be fine. No. So that's what that movie is.
That is so
and
dark.
So now you're like, I want to stay here. I'm good. You know what? You guys give me bacon. You guys, you hook me up. And you're like, it's your time now. Here we go.
That's an unsettling
check that out.
premise, yeah.
I'm kind of glad that you explained what that was, because I always thought that movie was like an action movie or something I was going to see someday, and now I'm glad that I am prepared for what is actually going on.
That's why it's so much action. They're trying to get the hell out.
I thought you were going to go like Shutter Island direction with it, but that's way more like that's what's going to happen in like 20 years, 30 years.
Well, like I said, I said that. Well, that's dark, first of all, but it's called Animal Farm, right?
Damn.
That's the original trope of that.
Yeah, because they do the same thing in Walking Dead as well, where they're just harvesting people.
Yeah,
you don't know you're on the menu kind of thing.
Yeah,
I really hope that's not where we're going. I really hope that's not. I'm gonna have to read my organs in advance to try and get out of it.
Now, to be clear, I'm an organ donor and I do support that. When it's your time
I'm dead.
to pass naturally. When it happens naturally.
Yes. Yeah. Got to get that clause in there.
Nothing quicker.
Yeah.
At all.
We've got to have that clause, natural causes.
You know what I'm saying? Let me be clear. I do support that act at a certain point, right? Okay. But George Orwell's Animal Farm, 1945, man, that right there in its iterations, because they put that in the children's book too. And in the children's book, I think they go to like the glue factory or something like that. But
glue factory.
It's like you still don't even grasp it. I think, Jamie, again, you said it. They made it into a child's film so they can make it simple. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now my question is why would they do that? Who was George Orwell trying to speak to? And sharing the story.
It's crazy because again, and this is like a whole. We could have just an episode on Orwell, but like that.
You just said prophecy.
Yeah. And again,
you said, "Are we going back towards there?"
That is,
and I hope not. I'm with you, Jamie. God, I hope not.
I always say that, like, where did they get this idea? Like, I'm hoping this isn't just out there and someone tapped into it and then they brought it here. Like, again, prophecy. It wasn't going to happen until they acted. Until he wrote that story, he set the chain of events in motion. The person who heard the story, they got scared. They want to live for 5,000 years now.
Well, they wrote a piece of the Walking Dead.
We've gone into Orwell. We've gone into prophecy. It took a dark turn.
Prophecies usually do that.
Yeah, but Orwell, that's a whole different subject. But I've got one more question for you, and that's about agency. And as writers, how do you guys approach making sure a character has free will and agency with a prophecy hanging over their head?
For me, I would say you either have to do it the Macbeth way and make it open to interpretation, or just make it conditional, which I guess is all of these other things.
Yeah.
You know what the outcome may or may not be, but certain things have to happen for that to happen, and then something like that. You have to basically just set it up vague enough that the character can do anything. If you just lock them into that track like the Narnia thing, you're just like, yep, they've done that, they've done that, they've done that, they've done that. That's my answer.
I love those books, by the way. Is it Lewis Carroll?
Yes. The last one is where Aslan goes to the glue farm, which is not a family favorite. You don't like that.
Spoiler alert.
For this 40-year-old thing.
Let me hear that question back again, please.
Okay, so as a writer, how do you approach making sure a character has free will and agency with a prophecy hanging over their head?
So they know about the prophecy hanging over their head? Is that the scenario?
Yeah, how's it still... Well, they don't have to, but how would you as the writer...
Okay.
How would you keep it engaging, not fall into some of these...
Well, there you go. They can't know. Because if you know, you're going to try to change things. And I prefer that they don't know and they do exactly what they were meant to do. And then they learn along the way. They're like, no, you were meant to do all those things. You're like, no, I had to do this because my mom told me to pick up milk. Like, she just, you're like, yeah, you're supposed to be at the grocery store at this exact time because your mom was going to get robbed and she knew that, or something like that. You know what I mean?
So
you're
subconscious
like,
kind of...
What?
Yeah.
If someone knows, but the main protagonist can't know.
That's interesting. So they're kind of being guided.
You see what I'm saying?
That's the Harry Potter thing, isn't it? But Voldemort
basically
knows about it, but Harry Potter doesn't have any idea that he's being forced.
But he's told though later. And I would say the difference is like I wouldn't want my protagonist to be told until like it is already done. Like everything had already came to fruition, you know what I'm saying? And now he gets to just be baffled, or they get to be baffled because they thought they were doing their own thing. In actuality,
I like that because that's existential. That's kind of like, could I have done anything differently? It's kind of like when again, back to the Matrix, when Agent Smith's breaking down, actually it's Cypher, when they're having the meal and he's saying exactly what's going to happen, what it tastes like, and you'd rather stay there than know the truth. So he's saying he'd rather be ignorant of like what you're saying, like the prophecy. Like, why would you want to be the one when you can just stay here? When you could just stay here.
You know what happens to the one? I would want to be the one if I were you. You know what I mean? It's but he, Neo was ignorant as hell.
Yeah.
Even the Oracle lied to him. Nope, you don't got it, sweetie. Sorry. She knew the truth. She needed to tell him that because if she'd have told him anything differently, he might have did something different. If he had thought he was the one, he would have did something different. Instead, she told him, "Hey, you're gonna have a tough decision to make." You know what I'm saying?
So
and
he's just
like,
to himself.
She gave him something. He had to, but he was gonna have to make the decision.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And she still told him, "You're not it."
Yeah.
And so in his mind, he's like, "That pressure's off," but I still got this decision to make, and that decision turned him into the one. That's how it works.
It's an incredible kind of like red herring almost, where everyone's expecting her to say, "Yeah, you're the one. Like you're the guy. You're gonna come and solve this issue that we're all having. You're gonna free everyone." And she's just like, "No, it's just not you.
That ain't you."
And I'd like that.
Sorry.
I think if you are gonna do a story where they are conscious of the prophecy, you have to let the belief be the thing that is driving them. Like they have to. It always depends on how seriously they take it.
Yeah.
So if you do a comedy, they're probably not going to take it seriously for a while, and then you kind of play with that. But it's like, if you think of the Lego Movie or Minority Report or any of these things, the agency is coming from, they know what the outcome is. They know what happens if they don't stop this thing.
Yeah.
So they're going to do all of these different, tactics to try and stop it. And then at the end, it happens or it doesn't happen, or whatever. But you have to see them trying instead of just fulfilling. The prophecy says you'll do this and this and this and this. If they do those things, they have to do those things because they're trying to do something else. So
making them an active participant. That's the way forward.
Yeah, because it's again, like, it goes back to those stories that we talked about where, I can't be the example that you gave, but the characters end up fulfilling them by accident.
Yeah,
because they're trying to stop it, they're trying to avoid it, or they're trying to escape it.
That's the one.
That was the one. and then they just keep doing exactly what they were not supposed to do.
Yeah, so it's like, just stop acting. That's what you're saying as an audience. Like, if you didn't
It's
want
all
this to
about
happen,
how much they believe in that prophecy, and that's how you should do it if you're going to do that kind of a story where they know.